Testing, testing. All right, mic's on. What's up?
Me and my friends are going to play the OG Taco.
Nice. That sounds like fun. I love it. Good afternoon. Happy weekend. Hope your Sunday's going well. My Sunday's going good. I got coffee. Went to the grocery store. There's football on today. It's gonna be a good day. So before the football starts, though, see the football starts in like an hour. I think the first game's at 2. Let's see. Well, let's just look it up. We can look it up together. I don't need to do it on my phone. Let's see. That's what we're going to work on today. But let's see when the first football game is. Okay, the first football game is at 2. Yeah, so about an hour. If I had to pick who was going to win today, I'd pick the Eagles in the first game and the Chiefs in the second game. Those would be my picks for the games today. Okay, other than that, yeah, just going to hang out and work on this alt text generator. I was on the struggle bus yesterday trying to work on this. So hopefully today goes better. So, what are we doing? We're going to start with our test. So this is where we got to yesterday. We have 2 tests here. We have a test that basically it checks if kind of the happy path, what happens in the bad path, and what happens in the happy path, the sad path and the happy path. Right now, our sad path is basically if people send us an empty LLM provider or an empty provider key or an empty file. Those should all generate some sort of errors. Sorry about that. My dog gets on the couch. He gets on my couch and just starts licking, and it drives me nuts. Okay, so distracting. Yeah, so this is our sad path. This is our happy path. There's still some more stuff I need to do, though, from a validation perspective. So I also need to make sure... Actually, let's parameterize this. Let's call this generate endpoint when called with invalid. Let's say invalid. And then let's turn this into a theory. I need to come down here. And we'll make a new class. Test data. And this is how XUnit does it. So you implement the IEnumerable interface. And yeah. Then you can say, let me refresh my memory. XUnit theory. Class data. Class data. Yeah, so you do this, right? So you basically implement this interface. And then once you have that implemented, you can just say type of class data. Oh. When you're writing tests, one of the really nice things to do is to be able to make your tests parameterized. And in this case, I'm using XUnit. And XUnit lets us do this really easily by simply changing our attribute on our test from fact to theory. And then once we've done that, we can come down and we can actually create a class which is going to represent our test data. So I'll say public test data, public, oops, no, that's not what I'm going to say. I'm going to say yeah, okay, yeah. So if you let me restart here. Sorry, I'm trying to make some short content at the same time as I'm streaming. Okay. So when you're writing tests, one of the nice things to be able to do is to parameterize your tests. And in this case, I'm using XUnit, and XUnit supports this in a really nice way. So one of the ways you can do it, at least, is you can come down here. I'll just come down to the bottom of my file here, and I'm just going to create a new class called test data. And this test data needs to implement the IEnumerable interface of type object array, like this. And we'll just give us some curly braces. And then we will implement this. And then once we've implemented it, now what we can do is we can return our test data here in the get enumerator. And then here we can change our attribute from fact to theory. Then we can add a new attribute called class data, and we'll specify it's a type of test data, like that. And then all we have to do is we have to update our test signature method to actually have some parameters that we actually want to pass into our test. But it's as simple as that. Declare a class to represent your test data that implements IEnumerable of object or object array, and then change your test attribute to theory and apply a new attribute called class data and specify the type that represents the test data for your test. Okay, so what do we need to do here? So what we need to do now is we need to actually declare what we want to parameterize. So I basically just want to parameterize the content. So this is going to become multi-part form data content. And now what I can do is I can come down here, delete that. Now, in my array, I can declare, let's see, we will yield return a new object. And that object is going to have, whoops, not that. That object is going to have this guy in it. Missing, must be missing a parentheses or a bracket. So many brackets. Okay. And then the other thing we should probably have as part of our parameters is we should say our problem. Nope, not here. Not here. Up here. We should say var problem. Then we should say problem that should be equivalent to this. But I actually don't know what this looks like. I know the status code should be doesn't it like here? Refer static read-only fields over constants array arguments if the called method is called repeatedly. That's just not applicable. You can do this. I wonder, do you think this should be maybe what we should actually start on here is problem errors, and then all we have to do is give it a dictionary instead. Forgive me, this is just what I do. I can never decide what the right thing is. Yeah. The equivalent to, and we'll put that there. There's like I'm missing a then what I actually should do is then roll this out and say, okay, delete that. Equal to errors. We'll add a new parameter here that's content, and then it's going to be a dictionary string. That's all it's going to be errors. Jump down here. So we'll yield this, but then we'll also yield that. Okay. And if we've done everything right, can't do that. Okay, if we've done everything right, we should be able to rerun this test. I need to make this window a little smaller. How do I do that? Decrease width. W. Okay, why did our test fail? The file has no content. The file has no content. You'll see why this is worth it in a minute. There's a reason why this is worth doing. Yeah, okay. So now what we can do is we can basically say, we can basically go through all the different possibilities here, right? So we can say, okay, if we can go down further and we can say yield return new object. We can say right. So now we can say, okay, what if they give me the key and the provider, but the file's empty, right? We can make sure that's handled. We can also do yield return. Yeah, we can just kind of matrix this out and handle all the different cases. Yield return provider, empty file. And then we can also say there's some that we haven't. So these should all pass, right? So these should all pass. So let's rerun that. Write that out. PR. Note. Okay, and then we can also do, which I wonder if NeoTest shows me parameterized tests. I honestly don't know if it does. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it shows me all the parameter. Huh. Maybe that's something we could improve on this plugin. Okay. So we also need, there's a couple other things we need to be validating for. So we need to validate for the provider being a correct provider, which means we probably need to change all these tests. So this actually needs to be, let's call this die. This needs to be Gemini. I also think maybe I want these names. I wonder if these names are case sensitive. .NET multi-part form data case sensitive names. Multi-part parser is improperly case sensitive. I've hit a case where I think rack is failing to parse. I have the value. That's not .NET. Okay, well, let's just see if it is, right? We have a test for this. So if I change this to be if I change this to be L L L L L LM provider. Let's see, space TR. No, whoops, I need to write that out. Space TR. Okay, so if I change this to, what about if I change this to M provider. Okay, it looks like it's case insensitive, huh? This needs to be a valid provider when we're testing Gemini. Okay, so let's add a test for an invalid provider. Yield, return a new object. This is going to return not Gemini. Provider key, we'll get it some content. But this is going to be made up. So then this should return an error. That error should look like LLM provider field must be one of the following values. Ooh, I like that. LLM provider is invalid. So now we need to actually validate for that. So if it's yes, okay. And we also need to say we need probably to create a static class. Static class LLM provider. Yeah, we'll make it a constant, and then we'll have a public bool, and then we'll say is valid string provider, and we can actually just do something like this where we can say provider is Gemini. Use body. Remember is does not access instance data, can be marked as static. Oh, yep. Then we can come up here, and as part of this check, we can say if LLM provider dot is valid, oh yeah, We need to change this, huh? Oh man, what do I want to call this? I really don't want to refactor the. Let's see, space rename. Let's just rename this to provider. I'm actually not a big fan of that. Remove redundant equality. I'm not a big fan of that style convention. Remove redundant equality. You know, to each his own, but that's just not for me. That to do. LLM provider is valid. Yep. Okay, now we should be able to write that out. We should be able to go back to our tests. Now it should be LLM provider valid. Write that out. Oh, we also need to change all of these. We modified our requests. Let's see, how do we do this again? We say percent. Oh, yeah, go percent s LLM provider. And then we're going to change that to provider. And we do that globally, right? Yeah. Back up here to our tests, and we should be able to say, run those tests again. Okay, one of them failed. Well, that's because I really should change these strings to be interpolated. And that way, if I change the request name of LLM, no, provider. Here, name of provider. See, this is where people who work in Vim are faster, because what you could do, right, instead of pushing that so many times, I probably should have done Shift V and then E. No. Right, or no. V, then E. delete in I name of provider key. That's probably how someone who really knows Vim edits the I. Rerun our tests. Oh man, what have I done? Kernel server error. Broke something. What did I break? Name of provider key. Name of provider. Okay, well we're gonna set a breakpoint here. You will. Let's see. An item with the same key has already been added. Is this happening? I see what's happening. Okay, continue. Close that. Yeah, so what I need to do here is I actually need to group by and select, group by the first member name and select error messages. I have a list of results. Results dot group by. That's not right. Results dot group by. that work? I honestly don't know if that will work. File has no content expected. So wait, what? Let's toggle breakpoint. How do I do that? Provider field is invalid. Provider field is required. Provider key. Provider field is required. That looks right. So why is it getting added twice? Gemini. What have I done? Why am I on the struggle bus so much? So if it is null or white space, the field is required. Oh, let's debug this. TD to toggle that, and DC to debug. Not that. We need a space TD. Gemini provider key. So step over. And actually, let's set another breakpoint right here. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. We should move this inside. Okay, why did I do that, right? So basically what's happening is if the provider is null or white space, then when this check was outside this if statement, then I would end up with both. It's required and it's invalid, which I don't need to return both those errors. If it's empty, then I'll return required. If it's not empty, then I do a validation check and return if it's invalid. You could probably argue if that's what makes the most sense to me. Doesn't seem like that needs to be two separates. Oh, what's happening? Provider field. The input does not contain any JSON tokens. Oh. I'm a dummy. This should live outside. This should live on its own. Because we're not... It should live on its own. Why, though, I'm getting both these errors? Because I shouldn't ever get both these errors. Well, I guess I can get both these errors, right? Because if it's null or white space, then we do this. So... Okay, so what if we... I could probably consolidate these into one check. Could probably consolidate those into a single check, but... There we go. Okay. So now we're checking if the provider is valid, but now we also need to check if the file type is valid, right? So we're already doing if the file content is empty, but we should also make sure that we're getting the correct files. So let's add another one here, yield, return, new object, another new multi-part, multi-part. Multi-part, why is it complaining? Not complaining up here. Oh. Spelling matters. Case matters. Okay, so now I just want to change the file type. Let's change this. So this should fail. Let's make this not fail. JPEG. Basically anywhere we're saying file.txt. So again, the way, so one of the things you do really often in Visual Studio Code is global search and replacing in a file, and you can do that same thing in Neovim, and this is how you do it. I just learned this and want to show you that I learned it. So we're going to search for something in the current file. So we'll say %, then s / we're going to search for file.txt, and we are going to replace that with file.jpg, and we are going to do that globally. Now we can hit enter, and it replaced all those locations for us. So that's how you search and replace in Neovim. There. Okay, this was going to be for an invalid file type. So let's say this is txt. Then, yes, the file must be an image. Good to me. Back to program.cs. Then, if file.length greater than 0 and file.content type we need to I like that. Okay, I like that. That'll work. PNG and GIF, which I think is what we talked about supporting. Scale draw. I think we got this from Gemini itself. Yeah, PNG, GIF, JPEG, JPG. Okay. So if it's not one of those types, it should fail. The file must be a valid image file. Oh no, that didn't work because I deleted. The file must be a valid image file. The file must be a valid image file. File must be a valid image. Notice I just noticed my line numbers are gone. Wonder if that's because I'm zoomed in too far. Just noticed that. Don't know where my line numbers have gone. What broke there? Something broke there. I'm not sure what though. JPEG, PNG, not GIF. Yeah. So need to add a better key binding for switching back and forth between buffers. Validation results. Step over. Oh, it was successful. Oh yeah, because I'm looking for this, and it hits this. Provider field is required. File has no content. So why am I getting that weird JSON serialization error? That's one thing that that's one of the tricky things so far that I feel like coming from Visual Studio Code to Neovim has been the auto saving. So in VS Code, right, as soon as you make an edit and then go to a different file or navigate away from that file, if you've enabled this, it just automatically saves the file. And with Neovim, I have to remember, hey, if I make a change, I need to make sure and write that out. And I think sometimes I'm leading myself astray on issues because I'm not writing the most recent changes out, and so I'm exploring this mystery problem, and the mystery problem is because I just haven't written my changes. So that's become a point of friction in making the switch from VS Code to Neovim. We only have 10 minutes till the football game starts. I may not get this done. Oh. Writer key. Yeah, okay. Continue. Cursor position outside the buffer. Ensure executables up if using sourcing map. Ensure. What do I need to? Well, I guess I can't keep debugging. Did they all pass now? Yeah, they all. See, this is what I'm talking about. That everything was fine, but I think I was having an issue with my most recent changes not being. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna just have to do a better job at developing the habit of writing out my changes because I lost a lot of time on that. Okay, so now we're validating for the correct file type. So let's just make sure that all the file types pass that we have that we're validating against. So yield, return new object. Oh, I guess we should also, I guess what we should do now is we should actually parameterize our other test when called with required parameters. And we're gonna also have to make a new test data class. Let's call this invalid request test data. Then let's make another class valid request test data by enumerable of object. And I totally understand writing hello world in bytes to a file to a JPEG file doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. It's just bytes in this context. We just need the file to have something in it. Okay. I want to change this name. I don't want invalid request test stat. I want test data. There we go. So then we'll come up here, change this to theory, change this to that. And for now, we just want to check the status code, honestly. So again, we're going to add a parameter over here called multi-part form data. We are going to delete this, write that out. Should be able to rerun this. This should still pass. Then we need to try all the different file types. So we said, what did we say? We said JPG, JPEG, PNG, and GIF. I think I can have Copilot generate this for me. So I can say need case for JPG, PNG, and GIF. And GIF. I tell you what, that's the kind of stuff right there where Copilot, I mean, it just really is a time saver, right? I mean, granted, maybe you're a super fast typer and you're really good at navigating Neovim, and you could have done that like with a macro or something, which that's awesome, good for you. But for me, Copilot was much faster to just write a comment and then let it extrapolate. Yeah. And there's probably some stuff I could do here to dry up this test data, but it's good enough for a test like this. Okay, let's come down here. These should all pass. But I feel good about our validation. So we have validation for provider, validation for file size, file type. We have validation for making sure the key is provided. So I think once we get to this point, we can pretty safely assume we're ready to generate our alt text. But now at this point, we need to figure out who's the provider, right? So we're probably going to want some sort of factory. So we probably want like need to generate alt text based on selected provider, or not based on, using selected provider. Prob need a factory that handles creating the provider, and then we're going to want the provider to generate the alt text. Then we just want to return the alt text, and I think we also want to return the file name as part of that response. So basically, an object that has file name, alt text, and that way the caller has some way to, I don't know, maybe it doesn't make sense to return the file name. I guess if this endpoint accepted more than one file, but I think for now it's just gonna accept one file. One sec, I want to turn on the football game. Game's getting ready to start. So let's stub this out real quick, and then I'm going to wrap up. Okay, so we're going to have some sort of interface. We're going to have some sort of interface that is I provider factory. Then, oops. And actually, let's give this a little bit more of a, let's say all I alt text. Then this is going to be I alt text provider, like that. So that sounds good, Copilot. Let's do this. So what do I need to send to? I think they all take it as base 64 string, honestly. I think every single one of them takes it as a base 64 string. I guess how does that, I guess really the actual question is request dot file dot content. Probably a stream, huh? Probably want to pass this around like a stream. Do we want a memory stream? Yeah, probably memory stream. There's probably also a question about size that we need to answer at some point, right? Like what happens with like a 1 gigabyte file? We probably don't want to choke on that. Probably should set some upper bound limit until we know. Like, probably need to consider upper bound for. Whoa, what the heck happened there? That's a for loop in my comment. Probably need to consider upper bound for file size. Anywho, and then alt text provider factory. And then we can actually just do this with a really simple implementation. We can say class alt text provider factory equals I alt text. Yep. Create. Yeah, this will work. Yeah, We don't have the Gemini alt text provider, but we can declare one. Class Gemini provider alt text. I promise you I'm going to separate this stuff into separate files, but for now this is fine. It might actually be interesting to make this a abstract class. An interface is fine for now. Now we just need to register these guys. We could register these with reflection, but we're just going to do it simply. Just going to come up here and say builder. Builder dot services dot add singleton back, and then we need to add a singleton for our alt text provider, but this actually needs to be I alt text provider. I think actually this should probably be add probably need to make this keyed. Get require keyed service. Cannot convert from string to type. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. And up here we can say, instead of doing that, we do delete add singleton. For now, we're not going to have it do anything with the provider or the key other than just return Gemini alt text. And then here we can say from services, and we can say I alt text provider factory. Come down here and say our provider and alt text. Oh, that's not going to work. We need to create that memory stream. Our memory stream. Oh. And we need to copy that file to it. And is there an async method of this? Copy to, yeah, async. We await. Sync. I'm actually going to call it image. No, image. Let's call it image stream. Naming things is hard. Okay, now let's set a breakpoint right here. DT. And let's go to our tests. And let's run this. So space TD. So if we did everything right, we should be able to get back our alt text from our provider. If we did. See it here. Yep, see it? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So the only thing we need to do now is we need to actually implement the talking to Gemini and getting our response back. So we'll do that next time because I'm going to go watch some football. So continue, 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 continue. Nice. Oh, one quick thing before I go. You actually want to rename these methods because these are going to be async. Or at least our providers. So let's make this into a task. Let's do a task. Allow. Okay, cool. Well, that's enough for today. I'm gonna go watch the Eagles and Commanders play. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday. You're having a good Sunday, and I will see you later, or the next time, or whenever I stream again. I don't know when that'll be, but when I do stream again, I'll see you then.